Okay, very welcome to the newest edition of BetBright's 3 to 1. Joining me, Dean Ryan, on the panel today are the regular contributors. We have Connor White, we have Peter Welch, and we also have Dermot Nolan. Big week in sport. It's a little bit different, of course, as we will be talking about Conor McGregor and the Floyd Mayweather fight coming up at the weekend. But we're going to kick off with football and talk about the Premier League from the weekend. Might start with a bit of farce in the 1-1 draw between Man City and Everton. The referees had a bit of a nightmare, Connor.
Yeah, I think he's had an absolute shocker, to be honest. I thought the sending off of Kyle Walker early on in the game was a pretty rubbish decision as well, but Schneiderlin seemed farcical, really. I thought at the end it seemed like a fair challenge, not even deserving of a yellow card, or not even deserving of a foul. So yeah, I think he's taken a lot of stick, and rightly so.
He did.
And I think it overshadowed actually a pretty good performance by Everton on the night. I thought they were good, and I thought they were unlucky not to come away with the win. Rooney scoring his 200th Premier League goal was obviously a talking point as well.
Well, let's talk about Rooney, because he seems to, we touched on it last week, he seems to be back with all the hunger and verve of his very early days at Everton, then at Man United, and he gets a massive amount of stick, but there won't be many players. I think it's only Shearer and him in the 200 club in the Premier League, which is remarkable, isn't it, Peter?
Absolutely. It's a fantastic achievement for any player, and the fact that Wayne Rooney, he's spent his whole career in England, and he's done it for the last 13 years, I think, since he started or came onto the scene. Playing for England. He's England's all-time leading goal scorer. He's now joined the 200 club, and for me, he's one of the best players that we've ever produced, and that's ever worn an England shirt and featured in the Premier League. So I think he's taken so much unnecessary stick throughout his career. And we've been very lucky to have him in the Premier League. That's
an English kind of media thing, though, isn't it? With our big guns, build them up just to shoot them down. Derma, you were saying last week that you were delighted for him. Looked like he'd come back to his best and had his hunger back at Everton. And now, I mean, the team. I think Everton took a bit of a gamble bringing Wayne Rooney back, but it's not proven that.
He's actually covered the most yards. He actually covered the most yards of any Everton player last day as well.
Really?
I mean, he's in great shape. I think in general, it's just great to see him do this. He could have went off to China. He could have went off to America. Nobody would have had anything against him for doing it. But he stayed. He's gone back to Everton like he always probably hoped he would. It is his club. It's his boyhood club. And it's just great to see that he's a professional footballer. He's made his money. He didn't need to do this, but he's proving everyone wrong. And the English media, they've always been the worst media of any country there is. Like, you know, every World Cup, every European Championships, there's always some scandal with Sven-Goran Eriksson or something. It seems to be that they sell more copies when the English team are doing bad, so they kind of try and keep it that way. And Wayne Rooney suffered from that as well. But look, he's a brilliant footballer, and it's great to see him prove this. And which is his swan song, but it was actually a genius signing because they're such a young team. You know, like the Tom Davis, that forward, I forget his name now, the big lad up front, the young lad. They're a really, really young team, and they're brilliant. And just to have Wayne Rooney there completely steadying the ship, he slows the ball down when he needs to, he draws the fouls. And to see him score in Man City Stadium as well was great because he really gave it the big one. Like it was.
There's a real romance as well to him getting his 200th goal in an Everton jersey, like where he played as a boy
against Man City.
Against Man City, yeah. So I think there's absolutely.
Result for both teams fair in the end, and the referee evening up his bad decisions would be my view. I thought it was pretty fair. Man City always looked like they might go and win the game if it went a little bit longer and they had a bit more time. So by the time they got into the groove, then they'll be happy with a point. I think Pep Guardiola said it was one of his proudest moments as a manager. I mean, he comes out with mad statements.
He does come out with mad statements. I think John Stones still looks an absolute liability. Yeah. Even for Rooney's goal, he just lost everyone. He just was standing on his own. I think John Stone's an absolute liability, and I don't think he's anywhere near good enough. He keeps the ball well or whatever else, but he hasn't kicked on as a defender whatsoever. And I think Man City might continue to have the same problems they had last year in that regard. They look much better midfield, they look much better going forward, their wing backs look much better, but as far as the centre backs goes, they still have that same old issue.
Up until the 70th minute or so, though, you would have said Everton were good value for a 1-0 lead.
I think they deserve the lead.
Yeah,
I know. Man City pressed hard then for the last 20 minutes, and you know they could have scored.
I'd have said a draw was a fair enough result, and that City could have robbed it. I thought Everton were kind of happy to be in the lead that they were in, which is always a dangerous game to play. But Everton looked decent, considering they had Klaassen and Sigurdsson on the bench. There's a lot more to come from Everton too.
Manchester United steamrolled Swansea and they've 2 4-0 victories to their name, riding high at the top of the league. 3 teams with 100% records. I don't think we need to talk about Man United. They are just doing what they're doing against.
Yeah, they're brilliant.
It's
they're
flattering as well, though. I mean, the media is very
it is.
much painted as a trouncing, but for there was 3 goals in 4 minutes, I think, at the end of the match.
And Swansea could have had a few goals.
Yeah, I think their day will come when they get a sterner test, and then we'll know a little bit more about Jose Mourinho's side this season. Good result for Watford. I think one of the talking points perhaps of the weekend was, Arsene Wenger's Arsenal going down to Stoke, and I'm a Spurs fan, so I wasn't surprised. I thought they were very lucky actually in their opening game of the season. And so they're in a difficult position, Arsenal.
They are, but again, Arsenal, even when they were flying, they never went to Stoke and come out with much. Some teams just have teams they can't play.
It's true.
Stoke, they're not the same team they were obviously under Pulis. They're not the big bullies they were. But Joanne Jesse looks to be a brilliant signing, and Stoke in general look decent. They were value for the win, but some teams just have places that they travel to and they don't do particularly well there. Man City actually against Everton really struggle against them, and I think it's too early to write anyone off just yet, as Chelsea proved at the weekend. But yeah, Arsenal.
Well, if you're an Arsenal fan though, you'd have to be pissed off with that performance as well.
It
is very much a sense.
Arsenal fan TV.
Arsenal fan TV.
It is absolutely still the start they didn't want to get off to. It's I'd say it's very much a sense of same old from an Arsenal fan perspective.
Yeah, and they're going to get stuck with that because
they look toothless. I thought
they can't change anything while Wenger's still there. Nothing will change.
No.
For me, it just highlights the fickleness of supporting a football club. One week they've come back, they score 4 goals, and they've scored in the last minute, and this could be our year. And then the next week they go away to Stoke, they lose 1-0, and it's it's calls to the manager's head again. And
Arsenal are more inclined to call for the head than anyone as well.
It just sums up kind of the speedy nature which people can change in the game.
Even the best example ever was Ipswich. Last season, the Ipswich fans were calling for Mick McCarthy's head. They wanted him gone. Absolutely awful. They've played 5 games this season. They've won 5, and it's all absolute hero, legend of a manager.
Statue in the town square.
And and the ridiculous thing about him was Mick McCarthy has the lowest budget of. I think he spends less than the clubs in League One. And still he was still having this. Just football fans, they're just fickle, and it's always been the case. It's never going to change.
Wenger does seem to me though to be steadily losing the plot more and more each season.
Each year.
He's playing players in different positions when he could mould his 11 to all play in their actual positions, and then he seems to put left backs at centre half, right backs at left back, and it looks to me like he's looking for that reason to say, "See, I know better than you." He actually doesn't.
It's almost like he's kind of saying, "Fuck the criticism," almost. Yeah. And I'm going to do this.
I've got this.
I can kind of see what he's trying to do.
But it comes back in his face then, when you get a result like that.
What he's been doing over the last 3-4 seasons, where he's brought in the likes of Ozil one season, Sanchez the next, Lacazette this season. I think it's Kolasinac the centre back or defender. I think he looked fantastic in the Charity Shield. But he's got the patience to not sort of dominate a league for that amount of time. It's whether clearly the fans don't have the patience.
I'm not sure the players do either. I mean, if he brings one in 4 years ago, and don't worry, we'll sign another good lad next year. It's pretty dull stuff. And I'm obviously glad I'm not an Arsenal fan.
He's trying to be a genius, I think, with all these swaps and stuff. When Arsenal's actual squad is quite okay. It's better than Liverpool's squad. It's better than a lot of squads. And if they just played players in the right positions, they'd probably be alright.
I've left the best to last. I let Peter go first on this, obviously, as a Chelsea fan. I thought Chelsea would struggle against Tottenham at Wembley at the weekend. And for periods of the game, I think they did struggle to deal with a pretty rampant Spurs team. But Spurs like a cutting edge. Chelsea perhaps one of our bogey teams. I don't think it's anything to do with the pitch, but I want to know what you think.
As a Chelsea fan, over since the Abramovich era, I've been used to Chelsea sitting back, having the other team dominate possession, and we scrape through and score when we can. I think that's exactly what we did on Sunday. I don't think, for me, maybe I'm a sort of clearly a biased opinion, but I don't think we ever did struggle. I was never sitting there thinking, oh my God, Tottenham are about to score, it's just a matter of time. It was a case of, they can have the ball, let them have the ball. The only way they did score was through an own goal. Which a goal's a goal, don't get me wrong.
Harry Kane seems to take a while to warm up in the season as well, doesn't he?
Do you know what? I think that's true in previous years where he's had a lot of football and played a lot during the summer. This year I think he's had a clean run, and if he hadn't have hit the post twice and 2 absolute point-blank saves, he'd have 4 goals.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you can read into stats too much.
Yeah, and he does have this August. I'm sure in his head he's even thinking,
They have to start scoring.
I hate August. I don't understand it, but he's hit the post twice in 2 games, and there have been 2-yard point blank saves from Rockets.
I thought Lloris was poor as well for the second.
It was the result Chelsea needed, really, though, didn't it, after the opening weekend?
Well, this is Peter was saying last week, don't write them off, and I was quite happy to write them off, but. Yeah, now they've got a pepper nest.
You think Morata should have scored? He had he missed an absolute
sitter of a header.
I was sitting there with my hand in my head. I could not believe he missed that from 5-6 yards out.
Yeah.
Willian hit the post as well.
Yeah.
So we created enough chances.
That game could have finished 3-3, and I would have gone, probably fair enough.
I'm not taking a point, to be fair, away from home.
Yeah.
Bearing in mind the result that Chelsea had the week before.
You're kind of
Spurs are away from home though as well.
I know, Tottenham
exactly,
have 38 games away from home this season, so it's going to be a tricky old season.
Do you think it's too early to tell if Wembley is going to make a difference?
Yeah, it's nonsense.
I don't think they played bad.
It's something to write about. We will dominate a lot of sides at Wembley. We will, and we will see where the season takes us. They're now dipping into the transfer market as well at Tottenham, so be an interesting couple of weeks for them, and we'll see what happens. I picked out 3 games from the weekend ahead that are definitely worth talking about. Liverpool, who got their win against Crystal Palace at the weekend, they take on Arsenal on Sunday at 4 o'clock. I thought Liverpool were a big price for this. They're 11-10. The draw's 13-5 and Arsenal 9-4. I really can't have Arsenal on the back of what I've seen so far. I know Liverpool struggling maybe, but I fancy Liverpool at Anfield, turn them over.
Liverpool, for me, obviously they had the 3-3 against Watford. That was away at Watford.
Yeah. Watford kind of backed it up by coming out winning.
Watford are a serious team,
Watford
with a serious manager.
Squad. I mean, it's not like they drew with a bad team either. I mean, sometimes you can have an early season draw and you can think, oh God, that was awful. But then that team can actually be okay. And Watford looked like, Paulo Sousa nearly kept up Hull when he'd no right to do it. An awful team. And he just carried that on now with Watford. And I don't think that early season result for Liverpool will look too bad in about I think
that might prove right. And for me, Liverpool will be beating Arsenal this weekend. And
Liverpool are much better against better teams as well. Like Arsenal will press, Liverpool will sit, and Liverpool catches them on the break.
Yeah.
I agree.
I think I might have to go against you there, Dean.
I'll
go for an Arsenal win. I thought, again, Liverpool beat Palace 1-0 at the weekend, and if I'm correct, I believe it just threw. It was quite a scrappy goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
It was a bad goal. Yeah.
Defensive mistake, really.
And they had Andrew Robertson out on the left-hand side, putting some absolutely wonder balls in throughout the game, and there was just no one there to put a head on it.
You still lack that figurehead.
I think so, yeah. And so for that reason, I mean, they're just a bit too inconsistent early on. They've kind of scraped through. So I'd definitely go for an Arsenal win at the weekend.
I'd agree. I think Liverpool look toothless for me, and I think Arsenal will have something to prove next weekend. So
they will have.
I'd fancy Arsenal to turn Liverpool over there.
Split
wrong as your vote wrong.
Split panel. Man United.
No.
We did talk about perhaps Man United getting a sterner test. I think they'll face one from Leicester at the weekend. That's the 5:30 game on Saturday. They're very short favourites, 1-3.
Leicester look excellent.
Man United. I think Leicester will outplay the 9-1 odds. I don't know if that's a punt anyone fancies taking them.
Yeah, Harry Maguire, that centre back they bought,
scored his first goal.
Could well get into the English team soon enough. It's absolutely looks a brilliant signing.
Yeah,
he's been outstanding so far. And Leicester didn't need to improve a whole pile. They just needed to shake off that Hoot and your man centre back. Like that was fine for a season when they caught everyone out, but when people figured out they were just both too slow, and they've got that figured out now. Osaka again looked very, very good. And I think 9-1 on Leicester to turn over Man United.
4-1 the draw.
This is United's first chance to make a real statement, though. They do need to win this to be considered real momentum, because they've turned over 2 bad teams so far.
Is that Old Trafford? Is it?
Old Trafford.
Yeah.
I see United taking that 2-0.
A 4-1 draw could be.
I think the draw's a fair. I think the draw's a fair price there. I think Leicester will put it up to them, and it certainly won't be anything like Man United's first.
And the way Man United play will suit the way Leicester play too.
Yeah, I agree. They've got plenty of pace up front. Chelsea and Everton on Sunday, 1:30. The final game I wanted to bring up here. Chelsea 4-9 favourites, 7-2 the draw, and 7-1 Everton. They were 9-1 outsiders for the City game, and I think they played very well. They're 7-1 to turn over Chelsea.
I'd like the draw there at 7-2.
Yeah, draw.
I think another draw against a big team for Everton
balls
could be a phenomenal
out
start to the season.
7-1 Everton.
Yes.
They've looked decent. Klaassen and Sigurdsson.
Well, Peter's not going to agree with you, like. So.
He's there nodding away.
No, he's a punter though as well. So it's 7-1. Like,
if I look at it objectively,
Dude.
As a non-Chelsea fan, I'd go draw here.
Would you?
Yeah.
And I'd probably take a draw because I think Everton are going to be. I think they'll be well up there for Champions League place.
They'll think they're
Everton were very clever
behind
doing their
against
business
City.
so early that the actual squad got together early. There was no this blending in crap that other teams have to deal with.
As a fan, obviously, I'll be cheering Chelsea on. And as a fan, I'll be believing we can win, especially at Stamford Bridge. But if you look at it objectively, if you can have a punt, I think the draw I think Everton would take a draw, and I think looking at the whole season, a draw at home to a strong Everton side wouldn't be a bad result for Chelsea.
Okay, well they're the three biggest games I picked out over the weekend. We'll talk about it all again next week and see how we got on. I think the best bet of the weekend is that Man U Leicester draw 4-1.